Welcome to the Exhorter podcast, where we aim to stir up love and good works through bite-sized biblical discussion. This time, we did the intro just one at a time so we could get it right.
Because last time I listened to that episode this morning. Yeah.
It was okay. You guys did a good job.
We didn't aim to stir up love. We just stirred it up.
We just stirred it up. Yeah. Maybe that we should remove that because that's what we're doing now.
Action is better than
planning.
Goals, right?
We need goals.
Yeah.
Well, this time, Kyle, I think you are leading our topic. What are we going to be talking about today?
Either that or he's planning singing tonight.
He's got a songbook out.
Yeah, I've got the old Sacred Selection songbook out, and number 564 is Watching You. All along on the road to the soul's true abode, there's an eye watching you. Every step that you take, this great eye is awake. There's an eye watching you, watching you, watching you, watching you. Every day, mind the course you pursue, watching you, watching you. There's an all-seeing eye watching you.
Reminds me of every step you take.
Yeah, I was going to sing a few bars, but I don't have the singing acumen as John.
That's the creepy police stalking song.
I was thinking of the P. Diddy version.
The P. Diddy version.
Yeah.
I was. That's up the octave. I was singing it. Yeah.
That song is it's a little humorous to me now. Just the way I was talking to someone the other day who said their mom used to sing that to them anytime they were acting naughty or misbehaving. Is don't forget, there's the all-seeing eye watching you. He sees everything. And I instantly started thinking about images like Frodo and Sam trying to navigate through the marshes and deserts of Mordor with the all-seeing eye of Sauron, always watchful, always looking for the ring, and that there's this constant idea that you're always being watched and you're going to be spotted. And there's plenty of scriptures that talk about that, how God will call into judgment everything we've done on earth, and that there is a truth where God is always watching. And I think that really came to light a couple weeks ago with, and I always laugh at what makes one clip viral and another irrelevant. And why did this one become the focal point of everyone's social media? Well, I'm talking about Andy Byron, the CEO of the tech company Astronomer, who was caught on kiss cam at the Coldplay concert and holding another woman in his arms that was not his wife, and accidentally getting exposed. His little extramarital affair was exposed for the whole world to see. And the way they reacted, being shocked when they noticed they were on camera. And so, I mean, really quickly, I just want to ask each of you guys, what's the funniest reaction you saw to that?
Of the different meme.
So for me, it's with all the creepiness of Pedro Pascal, who is very handsy with his co-stars in interviews because he has anxiety. Well, the CEO, Andy Byron, should have just said he has anxiety and she was the nearest woman. So, I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that. Did you guys see anything like that too?
I saw the mascot of the Phillies baseball team.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. It was hilarious. They did a reenactment of it. They had two of them. One was a guy, one was a gal, mascot. And then they put them up on Kiss Cam, and it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. It made me laugh. That's my favorite. John, what's yours?
I don't watch a lot of social media, so
stop it. Lies and
deceit. I'll fill in for John. I saw one of Obi-Wan and Padme getting caught on Kiss Cam.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was. I think it was an AI. I'm getting frustrated by how real AI is becoming these days. So that was definitely
it. It looks more real than reality. That's how you know.
But my point is, we're quick to go to humor. That's why I wanted to bring it up. For one, we're always looking for good laugh on this show. But it is a sad situation, though, isn't it? Well, I mean, he was married with kids, and I believe she was as well. Yeah. And
I didn't know she was.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like I understand that sometimes public shame is just the consequence of people's actions, but in another respect too, I was just thinking about how viral it is and how it just brings all their family members and everyone just shoved into the limelight of this tragedy of what befalling this family.
Yeah.
And I feel like, that may just be maybe they got more than 7 seconds of airtime on this. This has been going for weeks and it's still strong. So that's the thing that feels weird is it's a little much, a little heavy and lingering on. But honestly, it gives us a good podcast conversation because that it's still strong, and there are consequences to one's actions. People are watching.
There's always a camera on somewhere nowadays.
Well, that's what I'd like to sort of talk about is just what can we learn from this story here that was just everyone's talking about it. And I take an elephant in the room approach to preaching sometimes. If something is on everybody's mind or something is like so ubiquitous that we all know or we've all seen or heard about it, then I'm not going to pretend like it's not something worth discussing from a biblical perspective. But it seems like people were quick to jump to humor and almost like people just reveled in this, like, well, he's rich, he's elite, so we can make fun of him. It's, we're not punching down, we're punching up. And I just wonder why is that? And my mind was drawn to Matthew chapter 7. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye and not consider the plank in your own eye? Now, I'm not trying to say that having an affair with a coworker and getting caught is just a speck in your eye, but why do we like to draw attention to other people's sins? I almost wonder if people are just let's draw attention to how awful this is. So
we had an episode about this one.
Yeah, so I don't have to really
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. We've had multiple episodes about this one. He broke several Exhorter podcast rules. Didn't follow the Mike Pence rule.
Yeah.
Opportunity for Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
That's his fault.
Yeah. I don't think we're supposed to revel in the misfortune of others, right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of what the point you're saying.
Even though I did some of that by asking for what's the funniest thing you saw about it,
kind of late.
But I just wanted to point out that we've all it's been in all our news feeds. Even John, who doesn't even get on social media, knew about it. And so just let's sort of take a more sobering look at this. Like, what are some lessons we can learn? I think the most obvious one is this idea that, Numbers chapter 32 is a famous scripture. A lot of people have been referencing in the aftermath of this. When you look at the tribes that, and I always forget who was it? Was it Reuben? Reuben and Gad. They wanted to settle east of the Jordan River in Numbers 32, and said, well, I know it's not the promised land per se, but we like it here. And so Moses said, sure, but you better come fight for your brethren. When it's their turn to fight for their slice of the promised land, you better show up and help them out. And he says here, these famous words in verse 23, but if you do not do so, then take note, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. And so that's one of the most sobering truths about this is when we get away with something, it almost just makes us more bold to keep doing it.
It always follows you. I don't think we ever really get away. Well, of course we don't ever really get away with it. God can see everything. But even within ourselves, I think that if we have any sort of conscience, we don't get away with it. It takes its toll. It takes its effect on us.
So, and that's another question I had is it a good thing when you get caught? I mean, we're looking at it and thinking this guy's life is ruined now. I mean, he did it to himself, so we're not feeling too sorry. But is there a sense where you could maybe in time say, I'm glad I got caught? I wonder people in those situations, if they ever come to that realization, like how much longer would I have gone on doing? I guess that assumes he has a conscience that would convict him of doing something wrong. But for a Christian, we resent it when we get caught. And I've known people that were caught doing some pretty shameful things, pretty awful things, stealing money, embezzling money. Of course, there's plenty of affairs or plenty of people I've known that have had pornography addictions and been, exposed, caught in the act or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the initial reaction is going to be, and I think I heard that CEO is suing Coldplay over this, because it's cost him so much.
I guess the whole thing is there's like these big signs when you walk into the stadiums that say you're acknowledged. They're basically we do them for media and for marketing and everything. It's a general acknowledgement that you're being filmed and you are giving your release for that. Well, and so basically there's no grounds for that.
When you buy the tickets, I'm sure there's something on there that
there is something.
Says
you're being filmed.
Small print.
It literally they were completely covered on that space. But then I think that they're going for a defamation thing.
Well, Well, when you get punched in the mouth, you want to punch back.
Yeah. Well, you want to justify some sort of. I mean, honestly, I get when you're cornered, people.
Sure, you're like you want to fight back.
Yeah. This one reminds me of the just Luke 12:2-3. Just the nothing is covered up that won't be revealed. And there's plenty of verses out there, that talk about nothing's not revealed to God, but specifically, I think that's something we should already know, but that doesn't really stop us. There's a majority of people think that they live private lives, but will acknowledge that they'll act differently around different people all the time. And so I don't think the idea of us having private lives doesn't really exist anymore. It doesn't really stay that way. And I can't imagine, isn't that the cognitive dissonance of not being able to live two different truths? Is you can't do it. You can't live one truth, two different truths.
Yeah.
Your brain can't do it. At some point in time, you probably have psychological or emotional issues and depression or just anxiety or other things trying to live a life where you're kind of, living two different.
Duplicitous.
Yeah. And so I don't think it's, that's why I feel like nothing is ever hidden, because I don't think that we're designed to live a life that's not authentic.
Integrity.
In integrity. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that we should gain from this as well is one might try to do that, but I don't think biologically and emotionally and psychologically, I don't think we can. I think it always turns out.
So there's one lesson is the idea that God sees all, that there's nothing hidden from his sight. There are plenty of stories of people that tried to run away from God, like Jonah. There's nowhere you can go to hide from God. So that
David and Bathsheba and
yeah. So there's this fear. I'll come back to David and Bathsheba.
Oh, yeah?
But there's this fear of judgment, this understanding of the all-seeing eye that your sins will find you out, that you get away with it, and that only makes you more bold, but it's going to get exposed at some point. And wouldn't you rather be the one I'd rather confess it rather than have it explode like it. So anyway, there's that one lesson, but then also maybe there's this idea that you're talking about, John, that there's an internal cost, that if we're living a lie, we're hiding sin. And Achan is such a good example of this in Joshua chapter 7.
Isn't there a passage in James talks about a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways?
Yes, chapter 1. But we're in Joshua chapter 7 right now.
I'm so sorry.
Focus, man.
Okay. Yeah. That's the other end of the
Look
Bible.
that one up. That's in James chapter 1. No, but what Achan's such a good illustration of this is he took something and was trying to keep it secret. Do you guys remember where that was it a gold object? Do you remember where it was discovered? Under his tent. Was he really even enjoying it?
No.
and so you take
well, he planned to later.
But I mean, you take something and the effort to keep it secret and hidden.
Oh yeah.
I think the novelty wears off pretty quick. And then there's also this idea of you're living this lie and a hidden life, and you think it's sort of internalized and that there's no collateral damage. Well, we talked about how it hurts yourself. So there's just trying to compile a list of lessons in my mind. There's the all-seeing eye. Nothing is hidden from God. There's an internal consequence for you with this cognitive dissonance and living a lie and the shame you feel, and you don't even get to really enjoy it. And I would say an affair is one of those things that for people would be initially fun, but that wears off. And it's not the same as working through the challenges of a marriage and the satisfaction of being with someone for your entire life, if that's what you're blessed to have, I think is a real blessing rather than just a temporary but fading sense of excitement. And so there's a toll on yourself, but then also there's collateral damage for other people. Achan stole the forbidden items and buried them. So what's the point? You're not selling it for the money. You're not displaying it. It's just hidden under the ground. But then his family got caught up in it. and his entire family was basically put to death.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, well, that's really harsh. And yeah, it is. But there was a consequence for his actions. And I could also add, we don't know how young his children were. Maybe they were grown, and were they complicit in hiding it? I mean, I think you notice your dad pulling up the floor of the tent and burying stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's lots of ways you kind of explain it, but I don't know that you necessarily need to explain or rationalize in that sense. Achan did something he knew was wrong, and there was collateral consequences for other people. David did something he knew was wrong with Bathsheba.
Oh boy.
Uriah died. The child conceived died. And that started a downward spiral. That was the point of which things kept getting worse for him and for the kingdom of Judah. So there's always going to be consequences. Other people are going to be hurt, even if not initially so.
I think that's the deceitfulness of sin is maybe you don't think it's all that bad to begin with, but it is so terrible. It's like an iceberg. You know, you see the 10% above the surface and you're like, that's not that bad. But you just don't realize how deep that can go and how big those consequences can be, and how wide and long lasting the effects of those sinful choices can really be. And just how I think for a person with a conscience, if you know you made a mistake like that, how do you live with yourself? Like that,
Yeah.
That would be so, that would be just a very, very difficult thing to do. But you have to realize you made a mistake and admit it.
You know, and I don't want to like dilute the idea of the focus on this specific story in adultery and that, but I also try to think about, okay, in its everyday aspect for most of us, we're not, caught up in adultery, about the idea of living an authentic life in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how are we the same type of person? Do we have the same language, the same character as we do at work, than as we do at home, as we do with our friends, as we do online, as we do at the church?
Oh yeah.
Do we live a life where we are just authentically the same person across all these places?
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important kind of point to add into this conversation, because living that authentic life will also help you stave off, sin and other things that, will creep in. Because I think that sometimes what we try to do is we try to hide aspects of our lives from other ones to uncomplicate them. But we're also not like shining our light as bright as we can in all the same aspects. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Because I think it's like, if you have, let's say you were to get your coworkers, your church friends together, your not in church friends together, and everyone is invited to your birthday party or something like that.
Yeah.
Are they going to all mesh because they know you? Are they going to like, are these, do they all see you the same way? Is that necessary? Is it okay to compartmentalize your life like that? Is that important? Or I just think for some reason it helps when you live your life more openly.
The same in every.
Because you're not then shy about bringing up your beliefs and your faith at work, or within the context of not getting fired,
right?
But also your language and the types of jokes and things that you have with friends that aren't in the church, won't offend that church friend that you bring along with you, and just things like that. Is who do they expect you to be? Is your character the same in all these groups? I think having that basis of living that life authentically, in all those respects, I think that that's like a good foundation for trying to stave off a lot of these issues that you'd have, where you start trying to hide certain aspects of you or your life from others, and then sin. Obviously, that'd be an easy place to do it. If you're living compartmentalized life, it'd be really easy to hide your sin in the different areas of that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Am I straying, pulling us into a different direction? Or
no, I like that take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is, if you are the same person with every group that you interact with, it's a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Is that easy to do? Is that something you guys, Kyle, I feel like it's easier for you to do that because your work friends are the same. Nate, do you think that that's the same? Do you feel like that's different? Is that an issue for people?
Oh, I think it's an issue. I mean, I can see it as an issue with myself. Not that I'm necessarily like, totally one way over here.
You're nasty Nate at work.
And then, 100% not that way at church, but I probably am more lax with certain people than with others. There's boundaries that like, for instance, I may be a little bit more honest with you guys than with a coworker. When I say honest, I mean share a little bit more about myself. Open with you guys than I would be with someone at work.
But you're not seen as someone different to them.
I don't think so.
You still present yourself in the character, that you are presenting to me. You still present. You don't present
you don't
something
want to be a totally
different.
Psalm 32 is another one that comes to my mind when in the aftermath of David's sin. He said, "When I kept silent, my bones grew old, though my groaning all the day long. For all day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My vitality was turned into the drought of summer." So David kept, and we know initially he hid the sin and tried to conceal the sin. And he says it just took a toll on me. It took away my vitality. I was just drained like summer drought. And then he says, "I acknowledged my sin to you, and my iniquity I have not hidden. I said, I will confess my transgression to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin." And I think that is what I hope people will learn from this, that you don't want to be caught. But it's not like you're getting away with anything right now. Either you'll get caught sooner than later, or you'll face God. And if we live this double life, and if you're trying to hide sin, you're setting yourself up for some disaster when your sin does find you out, or just it's going to eat away at you, living a lie. God didn't make us to exist that way. And so the answer when we hide away sin is we suffer and others suffer. No matter how stubbornly we think that's not the truth, others suffer when we sin. And the longer we conceal it, the longer we hide it away, the longer we bury it, we're just setting ourselves up and others for some sort of future disaster. It'll just keep getting worse. And so David said, "I wasted away. But when I confessed," and that's what David prayed for, is create in me a clean heart. Now, I do want to come back before we end this podcast. I do want to talk about, so you said, how does someone live with themselves? What do you do? That's something you asked, Nate. And I would say that what we just read there is you confess your sin to God. You acknowledge your sin instead of hide it.
Oh, right.
You expose it. But that does bring up a question. Does that fix everything? I want to come back to that one in just a second, but really quick, I'm also drawn to Adam and Eve. And the very first sin, I think, is meant to be like a stereotype of pretty much all sin afterwards. They covered it up. When God showed up in the garden after they ate of the fruit, they were hiding. They had made crude coverings to try and hide their nakedness because now they had shame. And I always love the way that's worded. Who told you you were naked? Isn't it obvious? Like, we just are. But I always just find that funny. He's like, who told you were naked? But they had tried to cover themselves, and very poorly, I might add. God had to make a better covering for them. And that's always the point that, again, this is supposed to be stereotypical of all sin, that it's in our nature to feel shame, hide, conceal, try to cover up, but we never do a good job at it. And it just strains the relationship between us and other people and between us and God. God makes the perfect covering. And that's the lesson is it's in our nature. We're like Adam and Eve in a lot of ways. I'm not guilty of Adam's sin, but I'm a descendant of Adam. I sin because I make bad choices, because I make selfish choices, and my instinct that I have to fight against because it's in my nature. But my instinct is lie about it, cover it up, hide it, pretend like it didn't happen, minimize the consequences of it. Well, I'm not hurting anybody. It's a victimless crime. You say those things to try and justify it. You're really just trying to bury it away and hide like Adam and Eve. But the point from that psalm we just read and from other passages like 1 John chapter 1 and chapter 2, if you confess your sin, he's faithful to forgive. But you have to acknowledge your sin rather than hide it. You have to confess it. That's where it begins. So resist that temptation to live the double life. And if you're caught in that double life, you're better to rip the Band-Aid off and expose the sin now in a way which you choose to do. But are there still going to be consequences?
Yes. Unfortunately. But it's kind of like the old adage, when was the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago? When's the second best time today? It would have been good if you had copped to your mistake whenever you first made it, rather than, continuing in it or covering it with lies. But when's the second best time? Now. Like, get it off your chest and confess. And James says in James 5:16, therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for one another so that you may be healed. The effective prayer of a righteous man accomplishes much. We need to get that sin out of our lives, and get it off of our chest and pray for each other so that we can be, spiritually healed and then move on.
Yeah. Is this guy from the Coldplay concert, is his marriage going to be restored? I would doubt it.
Yeah.
Is he ever going to have, is this going to derail his career? Perhaps.
Is he going to kill the cameraman?
Perhaps.
That in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking of like David with Bathsheba, right? David had Uriah killed. Like,
well, and
who did the worst? Who did the worst thing, right?
And the child, there was still consequence. The child did not survive.
Yeah.
And he grieved that, even though it was not the right way to bring a child into the world. He still grieved the loss of his unborn child. And
I think there is collateral damage out there, but I think most of the time it's well, I don't know if most of the time. I can see there being a lot of collateral damage out there.
Well, Manasseh is a really good example. One of the worst kings in all of Judah's history. I mean, in 2 Kings, it talks about how he filled the streets with blood. He was just bloodthirsty, violent. Yet in Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, it says he was taken away prisoner by the king of Assyria. But in his imprisonment, he prayed to God to receive his entreaty, and God heard his supplication and brought him back to Jerusalem into his kingdom. And Manasseh knew that the Lord was God. And after this, he built a wall around the city of David, and he cleansed out all the foreign gods and the idols from the house of the Lord. And so he did a lot of good things. Nevertheless, the people still sacrificed on the high places.
So Manasseh turned it around.
So he turned it around after being essentially the worst king they'd ever had from a moral standpoint. Yet, when you go to the end of the narrative for Judah, right before they're destroyed by Babylon, 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 3 says, surely at the commandment of the Lord, this came upon Judah, their destruction, to remove them from his sight because of the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he had done. So he turned it around in a personal sense.
But there was collateral damage.
But he was not going to right the ship. All the damage he had caused to the nation was irreversible. You might live a double life and get caught and have this come to Jesus moment. But the damage you cause to your children, the damage you cause to your church, the damage you cause to your family, friends, to other loved ones, that's where the consequences sometimes seem irreversible. And so, yes, there is always grace from God, and that is part of the equation. But that's why it's so important to see these stories, and rather than just turn it into something to kind of laugh at or turn into a meme for your amusement, to look at and really learn the lesson of don't fall for that lie. Don't fall for the double life, because you're going to set yourself up and others for what could be irreversible damage.
And there's the worst one, the more irrational one, which Ananias and Sapphira felt in Acts 5, which is lying to God and the Holy Spirit. At the end of the day, it seems irrational that someone would do that, and pretend to be better than they are when God knows exactly what and who they are. At the end of the day, they own their own consequences of that, which is why I say, a lot of times maybe it's not collateral damage. Sometimes it just happens right to you.
And they were both given a chance to clear the air, expose their sin.
Yeah.
And would there still have been consequences? Yes, but I think God would have spared their life if they were both given the chance. Tell the truth.
Oh yeah.
And is that pride, vanity? Is it not wanting to your character to be exposed, to others? Like,
well,
there's lots of different reasons why someone might do that.
It's like everything comes back to SpongeBob. And one of the best episodes ever is called Hooked, where Patrick takes SpongeBob to the carnival, but it's really just the fishing grounds. There's all these hooks with it's free cheese.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob's like, well, Mr. Krabs said if you get hooked, they pull you up and they'll eat you, or they'll put you in a gift shop and dry you out.
No, he like rides it.
And you just drop right before you get to the top. And then SpongeBob gets his pants hooked. And he's like, I'm going to die. But it's all those times that they got away with it.
Yeah.
It just made them think they'd keep doing it.
Which is really funny because if you know anything about odds, like if you're rolling a dice or anything like this, the more times you get away from it with it, or the more times the odds are in your favor, the increased chances of it you failing are exponentially.
Yeah.
You're literally just waiting for it to go bad. Like it will.
Yeah.
It will go bad.
If the chances are 1 and 2 that the bad thing happens and you do it once, well, what's going to happen the second time? Likely.
But a lot of times people roll the dice on that one. They don't understand,
math
and how that works.
Or morality.
Morality.
And the Proverbs teach us so much about like the foolish person and how it's detrimental to themselves and to those around them. And that even if they succeed in the short run, they'll fail in the long run. Like making sinful choices is just foolish, and it will come back to bite you, whether it's now or tomorrow or next week or 100 years from now. And this picture keeps coming to my mind. I read it in a Stephen Covey book where he talked about principles, and I don't think he was necessarily talking about big biblical principles, but we'll talk about biblical principles, right? Like doing the right thing. We can commit sin and quote, break God's law or break, God's principles. But really we aren't breaking God's principles. We're breaking ourselves against them. And we may not think about that when we are committing the sin, but over time it's like beating ourselves up, and we beat ourselves up and we beat ourselves up. And pretty soon we're a different person, as a result of that. Like that passage in James chapter 1, a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. It's going to change who you are.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly a lot of good application from what was simply a viral meme that went everywhere and was on everyone's news feed. But it is a story that is very cautionary, and there are many lessons we should be learning from this. Being careful not to revel in somebody else's downfall, but rather taking a sobering look in the mirror and making sure we're not headed in that same direction. I'd like to finish by thinking about the words of Solomon in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. He says in verse 1, "Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach, when you say, I find no pleasure in them." And then a little bit later in that chapter, he says, "Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil." I like this summary that I came across. It says, "Good, though done with toil, the toil soon passes and the good long will remain. Evil, though done with pleasure, the pleasure soon passes and the evil long will remain." There is an all-seeing eye watching everything we do. Let's live a life of integrity and be genuine people. When we sin, don't double down and bury it. Take it to God, expose it. He's faithful and will forgive. There may be consequences, but it's better to do it now because your sins will find you out.
Well, Kyle, thanks for a great episode. God is always watching us, and sin is much worse and more powerful than we think, and we should just avoid it at the outset. But if we have sin on our hearts and in our lives, then confess it now and get rid of it and change. So if you found value in today's episode, if it's been helpful for you, please like, share, subscribe, and we will. I would say we'll see you on the next episode, but we won't, and you won't see us either. But hopefully you'll listen.
And if you've sinned, you know who I'm talking to, right? I'm talking directly to you. You know who you are.
Yeah.
You better confess it because we know what you did.
We saw it.
And we'll tell everybody. So you better
It's the yeah. Oh yeah. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah. Hey, do you think that if Anakin was just open about his marriage to Padme, then he would have had the support and help from people around him when he knew that she was gonna die?
I mean,
she only died because of his stupidity.
No, she died because she was sad.
It was self-fulfilling prophecy.
Who is the worst Jedi of all time? And there's only one correct answer.
Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Oh.
That dude had like
Conehead?
That dude had like 12 wives. So it's like total hypocrite. So
come on.
Anakin has just one wife. Like,
I didn't even know that.
He'd be fine with that.
I didn't know.
Revenge of the Sith was a great movie.
Ki-Adi-Mundi is seriously the worst Jedi ever.